Thank you so very much, Anson. I appreciate you doing that quick, brief poll. It's always nice to have an idea of who's in the audience, especially for something like Pathways. There's a lot going on right now, and I hope I have something for everyone in this presentation tonight. The rules for this evening: kindly keep your microphones muted until we get to the question and answer portion. If you have a question during the session, please either write it down to ask it when I get to the Q&As or type it in the chat. Kathy Dyke, our esteemed Florida Pathways co-chair, is graciously volunteered to be my chat monitor tonight. We'll make sure all of those questions get answered. So let's see. We did the silence thing. I have an idea who my audience is. I think we can start. So first, or next, because I already did first, thank you for taking some time out of your evening tonight, for giving us this 1 hour so we can talk about Pathways together. I have a presentation to share with you, and then I will answer all of the questions that I can. And if I can't answer them, we have Kathy Dyke here who can help, and a lot of other seasoned members. So let us proceed. Pathways 101. I gave it a subtitle: The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. There's just one ugly thing about the current experience that I just want to share, particularly for the new people who haven't encountered this yet. And let's see. Very good. All right. If you want a copy of the slides tonight, I am happy to share them. Please send an email to pathways@toastmastersd47.org. Include the presentation date. As Anson mentioned a few moments ago, this is the third of 3 presentations. We are not using the same slides. So if you want these, you'll just have to say today's date, September 23rd. And a recording of this webinar will be posted on the District 47 website on that page shortly after the conclusion. Here's my outline for tonight: a very brief timeline, talk a little bit about what is Pathways, especially for those who are new, choosing a path, tips for working in your path, Pathways, my take on the good, the bad, and the ugly, talk about the new base camp that we hope is coming soon, share some resources with you, and then open it up to questions and answers. The brief timeline. You may have noticed, particularly for this thing in my virtual background, we're celebrating a centennial anniversary this year. Dr. Smedley actually first started and recognized the public speaking need, in 1905. Took him about 20 years before the birth of today's Toastmasters International. Now, between 1924 and when Pathways was launched in 2017, there were various updates to the educational system, but they were all paper-based. Well, 1995, we got the internet, the world changed. So now we have Pathways, where we have the online and interactive experience. In late last year, Toastmasters got the good news: updated Basecamp experience coming soon. Well, we thought it would be sooner than late 2024, but that's okay, because now we do have this coming soon. And I want to talk a little bit tonight about the Basecamp outage that was going to start on October 9th, just a little more than 2 weeks away. It's expected to last through October 25th. No promises. Could be shorter, could be longer. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. So to those who are still trying to figure out what Pathways is other than the Toastmasters educational system, it's a flexible, interactive learning experience. And you choose the path you want based on your goals, what you want to learn, which allows you to develop both your personal and professional skills. And together in our clubs, we help one another develop those skills. I help develop, my members help me develop mine, and vice versa. To get started, basically you're choosing a path, you select a language, you choose digital access. Originally there was also print access, we don't have that anymore. And then you choose a path, and on you go. In each path, the learner completes at least 14 educational projects and gives at least 15 speeches. Not all the projects require a speech, but most of them do. Now, what are the paths? There are 11 paths available now, and these are the titles of them. You can see them on the slide. There's more information available about each of these. I'll show you more later. But for right now, I want to say these are the 11 that are available. When the new base camp launches, only the 6 paths that are shown circled will be available. Toastmasters International headquarters did a survey. They looked at which paths were being utilized most frequently. These are the most popular 6 paths, so that's what they're focusing on. Now, the other paths, they're not going to go away. You can still finish them. It's just that in these other paths, you won't see the new updated look and feel of the Basecamp system. The Pathways program was developed around 5 core competencies: public speaking, interpersonal communication, strategic leadership, management. These 4 can be taught. The 5th one, I'm having fun with my fingers here. Apparently, I can't keep track of where 5 is. The 5th one is confidence, which cannot be taught. You can only gain confidence through experience. But these are the core competencies. There are more than 300 unique sub-competencies, and this is just a small sample to give you a flavor. Those who are familiar with Pathways may not have seen some of these as the sub-competencies. So I just chose a few at random from the 300 just to give a little bit of flavor for what we can get out of Pathways. Each path has 5 levels. Level 1, please don't try to read all the small print on this. This is out of Navigator. You can read that elsewhere. Please focus on these main titles right now. Level 1 is Master the Fundamentals. It is the same projects in every path. It's all the same. The other 4 paths, you're increasing your skill level, learning your style, increasing knowledge, building skills, and then demonstrating expertise. So as your experience grows, your skill will grow too. Members have been surveyed about what they really like about Pathways, and these are some of the feedback that's available. One stop for advancement, anytime accessibility, these are all good. And there is a lovely little, just over 1 minute video where a gentleman speaks about his Toastmasters experience and talks about Toastmasters is the what and Pathways is the how. All of the links in these presentations are active, so that if you want to go and look at any of the resources, do ask for a copy of the slides. We'll get those to you. So choosing a path. From anywhere on the Toastmasters website, you can hover on your name once you've logged in, and this drop-down box will show up with My Home. Now, I chose this page to start with. I want you to notice this 270,000 plus members. We're going to come back to that a little bit later. But from anywhere on the Toastmasters website, hover over your name, get to My Home, and this will take you to your educational home, where you will see Basecamp, Learning Hub, and Achievement Board. To choose a path, there are several ways to do this. I recommend going to the Learning Hub. You'll see a number of things. Choose your path, view the navigator, go to Basecamp. You have options and some educational resources here. I recommend choosing a path. Now, if you have not yet chosen a path yet, your screen will not look like this. You won't see the $20 USD because your first path is already included in your membership dues. Once you're into your second or third path, those are purchased for $20. So I'm going to click on Choose My Path, and then I have 3 questions to answer. Select my language. I choose English. One of these days, I'm going to choose one of those languages I studied in high school. How would you like to access your materials? You'll need to check the box for digital. The print is no longer available. And how would you like to select your learning path? For me, since I am a seasoned member who's already enrolled, these are the only 2 options. But in working with some brand new members, I've discovered there is a third. There is a third tile. You can choose the recommended presentation mastery. But let's assume that you want to know more. So you're going to click View All the Path Options. That's going to take you to a page that shows a tile like these 3 for each of the 11 paths. Now, you can scroll down to see the other ones. This is a static slide because I didn't want to rely on the internet to not mess me up tonight. But I want to show you a few things about this. On each tile with the path name, you can see a 1-sentence description. That's great. But look underneath these and you'll see some print, some very small print. Here under strategic relationships, you'll see a message that says strategic relationships will no longer be available for purchase. It says after the first half of 2024, it's going to be after the new Basecamp launches. Anybody who is in that will be able to complete it, but they will not be able to purchase that path. So let's look at these that just say, learn more about the presentation mastery path. Maybe you don't want to base your decision just on that one sentence. So you can click on that and you'll get a window similar to this one, where you get a more detailed explanation of the path, and then a choice to either click on OK if that's all you want to know, or you can click on this link to view all projects in the path. You can go and look at a description of the path and see in detail all of the projects that are required for that path. And yes, there are buttons for the elective projects. You can go and look at that level of detail too. We're not going to do that tonight. We're going to stay with this level. So tips for working in your path. Now that you've chosen it, you want to get started, which is a wonderful thing. So again, I'm going to home where I have go to Basecamp, Learning Hub, Achievement Board. I'm going to go into Basecamp. And this is what the home page in Basecamp looks like. This is the home screen. First thing I want to show you, and I have to laugh because I've been using Pathways since it launched in 2018. I was actually a Pathways guide. And I just found this little return to my Toastmasters home yesterday. I've been finding a much more cumbersome way to get back to my Toastmasters home. So I want to show you this so you know that's an easy way to get back to the Toastmasters home. Pathways is in Basecamp. Basecamp is what's called a learning management system. And for those who aren't familiar with that term, it's basically a fancy term for an electronic filing cabinet. This is the electronic filing cabinet that holds all our educational resources. It's a separate website from the TI website. So that's why you have to go back and forth and why sometimes you'll see a little bit of a delay. The TI website is occasionally slow. Don't think it's your internet connection. It's probably not. So we got that done. The first thing I would like you to do if you're new to Pathways is watch this video. It's all of 2 minutes and 15 seconds and gives you a wonderful overview of how to navigate in Pathways. I would play it for you, but when I played it the other day, there were some resolution issues, and I don't want to subject you to that. Do it on your own computer where you'll have a better viewing experience. So I'm going to go on from here. The next thing you want to know about is how to access your path. And you do that by clicking on Paths and Learning. This is your education transcript. Best place to get it. And I want to show you a couple of things that trip members up. This is an example of a project. If you see down on the bottom right, it says Leadership Development. That's one of the paths I'm working in right now. The 4 is it's a level 4 project. You can also see that. And it's leading your team. Now, what often trips people up is that they forget to do an assessment at the end of their project. So I want to show you, going to this bar at the bottom, you can open that up by clicking on that triangle, and you'll see all the different main sections of each project. The two I want to bring your attention to right now are assess your skills before and assess your skills after. If you forget, and it's so easy to forget, you get to your club, you do your speech, you sigh a great sigh of relief, you think you're done. But if you don't go back in here and do the after assessment, then Basecamp will not know that you've completed the project. You will not get this lovely little check mark here showing you that you have completed this project. And that will cause you problems later on. We want you to get all of the educational credit you deserve. So you just have to fill in a few blanks here. Now, for the Basecamp managers, one of the things that tripped me up when I first became a Basecamp manager is, if you notice here, there's a check mark to show that planning and implementation is completed. You can see for the elective projects, 2 completed, 2 required, so that's completed. And there's a check mark here for level 3 completion. This is the only time this bar next to the level gets to be 100%. When I first went in to approve one of my members' level requests, I thought this would already be 100% if they'd finished all the things and that they had to do. No, it doesn't go to 100% until you, the base camp manager, well, excuse me, until the member activates this and you complete it. So let's go on and look at another example. Your base camp manager does have to approve the member request for levels. Your club president, vice president education, and secretary are the current base camp managers. You, as a base camp manager, you cannot approve your own educational achievements. So that's why we need multiple officers. Also, life happens. If I were traveling on a business trip and really couldn't access this for a week, I don't want my members to wait for me to get back to do this. So we have multiple base camp managers. This is another example of one of the projects in Persuasive Influence Path here. I'm up to level 5, and I have done the elective project. I still have to do the high performance leadership. And notice there is not even a little box here yet. That little box to click to activate this level completion won't appear until I have completed all those things above. So for the base camp managers, that might help you with some questions you ask. For those new to Pathways, don't let those little things trip you up. Here's my twist on making Pathways 101 my own. I have a few thoughts on the good, the bad, and the ugly about Pathways. The good, abundant opportunities to develop diverse skills. I did something recently I never thought I would do. I actually did a project on developing a social media presence. I didn't want to have a social media presence, but I've discovered I need one. And the project was very helpful in getting me more comfortable. And since I've been more active on my LinkedIn profile, I've been getting some more conversation with fellow professionals. It's interactive, and you can often get immediate feedback. Some of the projects will include activities where they want you to match up X with Y, and you'll have multiple choices. And as you move them around on the screen, it'll tell you whether you got it right or not. That immediate feedback is very helpful, helps us learn it. If we learn it wrong, it's much harder to go back and unlearn it and then learn it right than it is to go, oh yeah, okay, I got that wrong, let's fix it. There are videos in many of these projects that provide illustrations. My favorite example is from the Level 1 project Evaluation and Feedback, in which it's about a 7-minute video, as I recall. There is a brief snippet of a member giving a speech, followed by 3 short examples of someone giving them feedback in their evaluation. And the first evaluation is okay. The second one is better. The third one is even better. I have to tell you that when I saw that video, I found myself thinking, if I had read this in a paper manual, it would not have had the same impact on me. It meant a lot to be able to see and hear the difference in the different evaluations so that I could learn to do it better. And each project definitely challenges the learner. Truth about Pathways is you get as much out of it as you put into it. So if you take these challenges seriously, you'll have a lot of fun, but you'll learn a lot too. The bad, this is my personal opinion, mind you. The first 2 bullets on this slide are bad things about anything on the internet. Electronic access can be a nuisance. If you don't have internet, you can't get there. This is not unique to Pathways or TI. Neither is the second one. There is so much information on the TI website, it can sometimes be difficult to find. The one bad thing here that's unique to Pathways is that there's not a great connection between the Toastmasters International website and Basecamp. And that's one of the things that's going to be fixed in the new Basecamp coming soon. Here's the one ugly thing that I find about Pathways right now, and it has to do with some really cumbersome navigation within Basecamp. And I want to show you that, again, particularly for the new members, because for all of us Pathways guides, and I see Kathy, maybe she'll smile at this, it drove me nuts trying to figure this out when we were first working in Pathways. So let's say I'm here on my Basecamp homepage and I want to go to tutorials and resources. You would think it's really easy. You take your cursor and click on tutorials and resources. It doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. What you have to do instead is hover the cursor over the word tutorials and resources on the blue bar, get the drop-down box, and click on the drop-down box. Now, this is something that will be fixed in the new Basecamp. I am certain of it because I know a number of Toastmasters have gnashed their teeth over this. So this is one of the tricks that people who are newer to Pathways maybe haven't figured out this yet. I hope this will help you. And I'm pointing over here because this is where the slides are on my screen. If I'm not pointing to the slides on your view, please bear with me. I want to talk a little bit about the new Basecamp. Finally, coming soon, our new Basecamp. It has a number of good things that I'm looking forward to. First of all, it will be easier to navigate. It'll be easier to launch your path. It'll be easier to work through the projects. You'll also be able to do something you can't do now, which is access Pathways on your mobile phone. There is a mobile app to follow a little bit later, but at least we'll have mobile phone access. When you complete a level, right now, Basecamp managers approve it, and it's a two-step process for you to get full credit. They approve it within Basecamp, and then they have to submit it on Club Central. This will be a one-step process in the new Basecamp, which is good for both Basecamp managers and members. Pathways will also be accessible to members who are visually impaired. We want to include everybody. You'll also be able to share your accomplishments across social media platforms, including LinkedIn. Not sure I'm going to do that yet, but we'll see. And there are some more. World headquarters can update the content more easily and more frequently. And there's an update coming to level 1. Members will automatically get the updated level 1 content in the 6 paths that are supported in the transition to the new learning management system, to the new Basecamp. Now, as I said before, if you are currently working in a path that is not going to be available for purchase on the new Basecamp, you can still finish that path. You can still finish it in the new Basecamp. It will just have the same look and feel it does now. It won't have the improved look and feel. And coming sometime soon after the new Basecamp launches, Toastmasters is launching a new learning experience they're calling Explorations. And what you see on the slide is about as much as I know about it right now. They're going to be an exploration is going to consist of maybe 2 or 3 projects. It'll be a very targeted focus, specific topics, and I look forward to learning more about those. Now, coming soon, the new Basecamp. I think everyone has probably heard this first paragraph here, a Basecamp outage beginning on October 9th. Well, you notice I put on the title here, prepare before October 8th. Think about this for a minute. A few slides ago, I remembered that over 270,000 members in Toastmasters. We're all going to be trying to get ready at the same time. This outage is going to be at the same time for everybody around the world. Please do not wait until the last minute so that you're not frustrated by internet traffic. So there are 2 things that need to be done. If you are a member working on a project, maybe you've already signed up for a speech that's going to fall in your club in that time interval, download your project. You can download a PDF of it so you'll have all those resources available. Download the evaluation form also. If you're a club vice president education, encourage your members to sign up for speeches during this time so that they can choose which projects they're going to do and get them downloaded. Now, the worst thing that happens if you are caught unprepared at a Toastmasters meeting is you can have a whole lot of table topics and still have a lot of fun. But if you want to work on the prepared speeches and give people a chance to practice their evaluation skill, do these preparations. The other part of preparing is each member should confirm that their educational achievements in Basecamp match their achievements registered in the TI website. So let's talk a little bit more about these 2 items. First of all, if you have not ever printed a project from Pathways, this is how you do it. You go to that bar at the bottom again and select the Your Evaluation choice. That will take you to a page similar to this, and you can see I've already circled Print My Project. Click on the link, You'll get a PDF file, which you can either print to paper or save to your electronic device. That way you have the project information you need. You might also want to print the evaluation resource because as we talked about it, I didn't put a circle around it, but as we talked about, your evaluator might need that in order to give you the most accurate feedback for the project you're doing. Now, the Pathways team, the Florida team, was chatting this morning on WhatsApp and thinking about, well, what's going to happen to some of the club websites? I was concerned about this particularly because the image you see here is of a free Toast Host website. This is what my club uses. And our evaluators rely on being able to go to the club website and click on this evaluation form link to get the evaluation. And they often do it at the last minute, I'll be honest. So this is a caution. There are multiple platforms out there. I don't remember the names of all of them. Free Host is one. There are at least two others. We do not know whether the path and project and evaluation forms will be available. We were able to find out this morning that Free Host does have the evaluation forms. It's not tied to the Toastmaster system, so you'll be able to get those from the Free Host site. But let your members know these things may not be available from your club website during the outage period. So think ahead. And those of you who are Vice President's Education, help your members think ahead. Make them think ahead if you have to. Who wants to be unprepared for a Toastmasters meeting? All right, another change that's happening with the new base camp. You may notice these 3 items circled here: my feedback, my badges, my documents. These are places where in the current base camp, people have been able to collect feedback or the badges for some recognition, and they've been able to store documents. Some people put all their evaluations in there. Things that are in these folders will not be transferred over to the new system. If you want to keep anything from these folders, you need to copy those and put them to your computer. These will not be available in the new base camp. Let your people know. Checking on your educational achievements. I mentioned that a little bit ago, that we need to do that for ourselves. Vice President's Education can't do all of this, folks. They can't do it all. So do whatever you can for yourself. And to check your educational achievements, you need to check 2 places on the TI website. First, go to Basecamp. We already showed a few slides ago looking at what the projects in Basecamp look like, and you can easily tell how far you have gone and what levels you have completed and have been submitted to the system. The more challenging part is figuring out what's been submitted to TI. Well, that's easy. Just go to the achievement board here. When you get to the achievement board, you'll see this Education Awards tile. Click on that. And then you'll see something like this. This is an example of the first few of my accomplishments. The fun thing is you can sort it by the completion date, so I could go back to my earliest projects. I didn't want to show that. So this is how you can check and then make sure that what's in your Basecamp for your educational accomplishments are the same with what Toastmasters International has. If they differ, work with your VPE, your Basecamp managers, and get any discrepancies resolved. Resources. First and foremost, you have a Pathways team to help you. But we're not always around. We're not around 24/7. So there are other things that you can do. On this Pathways page from the website, it's under the education programs and then the Pathways learning experience. Down here, buried at the bottom where you might not notice it, are these 3 very helpful links: Pathways updates, education program, frequently asked questions, and Basecamp videos. There are an enormous number of videos showing you how to do things in Basecamp. For example, how do I launch a project? How do I do this? How do I do that? A very valuable resource. One of the annoyances that I have with the education program frequently asked questions, and I've contacted Toastmasters International about this, is there are multiple subheadings, but you cannot see them from the first page. You have to scroll all the way down to see the subheadings. When I first looked at this page, the educational program frequently asked questions, I thought all the stuff was about that one subheading, and I thought, well, that's not very helpful. I guess I'm not an explorer. I don't necessarily scroll down on pages, so it took me a little while to find the other things. I'm hoping Toastmasters will put us a little quick directory up at the top so we can see all the subheadings and more quickly find what we need. And finally, this slide has a number of resources on it that will help you in various ways. There are two that are kind of bolded here. There was an email describing the Basecamp outage that went to all members early in September 6th, I believe it was. There's a link so that you can go see it if you missed it coming through on your email. Also in the Pathways updates that we were just talking about on the previous slide, there is a section called Pathways updates, and the Basecamp outage is being described there. If you need to know the newest information, check these places. These other resources will help you with dealing with Pathways, the learning experience. This one requires Toastmasters International login. The rest of them don't. If you're interested in learning more about the competencies, this one shows all the paths and the core competencies for each path. This one shows the competencies not only by path, but by level. And so these are some interesting resources. I also want to mention the Navigator. A lot of us have forgotten about the Navigator, perhaps, if we joined a little while ago. It is a tremendous resource giving you an overview of Toastmasters, an overview of pathways. It gives you information about each of the 11 paths. And it's a PDF. You can download it and keep it on your computer in case you don't always want to have to go fetch on the internet. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings me to the question and answer portion of this program. Before I take the slides off, remember, Basecamp outage starts October 9th. Do not wait until the 8th to do your preparations. Hundreds of thousands of people might be trying to do it at the same time. And for any questions that we don't get answered in this session, or for copies of the slides, there's the Pathways email address. Now I'm going to stop the share, and I would be delighted to answer any questions in the chat or that you may have. Kindly raise your hand so I can find you more easily. And Kathy, do we have any questions in the chat?
Not at this time, not yet. One person did ask how to get the slides, but I put the Pathways email ad there, but no questions yet.
Okay. Audience, it's your turn. Any questions? Comments? Wow.
Ivanka has her hand.
Please tell us your question.
Thank you so much, and great presentation. I heard you say that we could print or download the digital version of our project prior to the blackout. So what happens once the blackout is done? Do we have to then do it over, or would that be enough?
My expectation is that any projects you complete during the outage, you and your vice president education will keep up, and then once Basecamp is available again, you'll be able to show those as complete on the new Basecamp and get the approval if it finishes a level. You won't have to redo the projects. That would be terribly inefficient. Did that answer your question?
So are you saying that the manual, let me see if I can do this properly. The manual work that I do in club during the blackout will be accepted as opposed to me doing the virtual platform? Is that correct?
I haven't seen the new platform yet, so I don't know exactly what's going to happen. But I believe if you use the information in the printed materials to complete your project, then once Basecamp is available, you'll be able to go in and complete any assessments or anything else that you need to complete to wrap it up and get credit for it, and that you'll be fine. There should not be any duplication of effort in terms of having to repeat a project.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Are you familiar with how to get in there and download the information? Download the project?
I am.
Okay. Thank you. Toastmaster Evelyn, you have a question.
Hi, Marijke. Good evening. Beautiful presentation. I learned something new again tonight. I
Thank
do
you.
have a question during that blackout
Mhm.
because if the member delivers a speech during that blackout, they won't be able to access Basecamp and, do the after the speech assessment or update Basecamp at all. So what do? They wait until after the blackout to update Basecamp?
That's all. That's the only choice we have. Wait until the new base camp is available. And I'm assuming this is the way it's supposed to go. The outage is so that they can do internal testing. And assuming the internal testing goes well, then shortly after we will after the outage, we should get the current base camp back, and then shortly after that, the new one would be launched. So once that blackout is over, yes, then we should be able to go in and complete electronically anything that has to be completed in order for the member to get credit for it.
I have a follow-up question though.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
so during those blackout periods, and if the club meets twice a month, so I think I will allow them to deliver a speech pending, because they can actually advance, right? Do something in advance, pending the update in Basecamp. But we cannot give them credit because there'll be no request for approval or anything that can be updated for the educational award until that level is completed. So I got it.
Good. Yes.
Thank you.
The members can proceed to learn and do what they need to do. We just can't record it in the system until Basecamp is available again.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Kathy,
I
I've
have
seen a couple of questions come up in the
I
chat.
have two questions. The first one is, could you repeat the folders that are not going to be available in the new pathways? Which folders are not going to be available? That slide that you had.
Yes, ma'am. Putting it up right now, calling it up. I had switched over to having Basecamp open in case I needed to illustrate anything, demonstrate anything. These are the folders, the things that will not be transferred over. The My Feedback, the My Badges, and the My Documents. These are the ones that will not be, the information in these will not be transferred over to the new Basecamp. If you
So
want to,
you're saying we better download all our badges, right?
if you want to keep them, yes, find a way to download them, screenshots, whatever. Frankly, I don't do badges, so I don't know what would be required to get them. But yes, get them out of there, a screenshot, download, whatever works if you want to keep them. If you don't mind losing them, you don't have to do anything. But if you want to keep them, take action, preferably before October 8th.
And can you repeat the blackout dates?
Yes, ma'am. Whoops. I'm looking for the slide thinking that would be easier. Basecamp outage beginning on October 9th, and it is expected to last through October 25th. They are not guaranteeing that we will have a Basecamp up on October 26th. The outage could be shorter, or if you've worked with computer systems, you know it could go a little longer because things don't always go the way they do. But this is what we've been told right now. Beginning October 9th for sure, and it's expected to be out through October 25th. And I see a couple of more hands up. Toastmaster Evelyn, your hand is still up. New question? Whoops, no. Toastmaster Linda Clark, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Marijke, for your presentation. Just an observation, and I would say some advice, particularly for our VPEs who are on the call. And this is something that I personally have begun working with, and I would recommend you do with your club members, is to start looking in particular at your members' electives in advance. Start encouraging your members to take a look at the projects that they want to complete, which likely they may not have the opportunity to do before the blackout period. And so that we're not downloading randomly. For example, for level 3 has an extensive number of electives. The members only required to complete 2. So you want to encourage those members to get into your base camps, look around, and start thinking about the projects that the member wants to complete. Have that information handy, and particularly for those of us who do not utilize the free toast host, I use it in my club where I'm VPE, and I imagine that that would be an invaluable resource for when the system actually does come back up and we start to verify the project completion. So that's just something that I personally have been pushing, the message that I've been pushing in my club is to start getting into your base camp now. Start taking a look, particularly if your members are currently within that levels 3 to 5, and to essentially be prepared so that you're not thinking about what electives you want to do when the system is down and you don't have the opportunity to actually log in and decide which projects you want to complete. Just for an efficient process for those of us, of course, who have to plan our agendas, so that we know what our members want to do and we're able to support them in the process when the system downtime is completed. Thank you.
I completely agree, Linda, and thank you for the details. Yes, members need to think ahead, maybe further than they usually do. My club meets every week, and I'll be honest, some of us sign up for a speech a few weeks in advance, but we don't start working on it until the week before the speech. That's not going to work during the base camp outage. We have to think further ahead. And so encourage your fellow members to do just that. Toastmaster Garfield Webb, you have a question for me.
Thank you. Excellent training.
Thank you.
Will folders come back? Will they return? Do you know?
I have not seen anything about that. My thought is no, but I'm going to reach out to Kathy Dyke and ask her to weigh in on that. What have you heard, Kathy? What do you know?
Are you talking about the ones where you've been told to download them just to make sure because they're not moving over?
Yes.
Folders? As far as I know, they're not going to be in the new system. That's any publication I have read suggests that they will no longer exist. So if you have anything saved in there, you need to save it somewhere else.
All right.
And that's probably why they want us to save it elsewhere, and they're not going to transfer it. Not only does it make the electronic transfer simpler, but if they're not going to store it in the future, now's your chance to grab it if you want to keep it.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Toastmaster Ivanka, you have another question?
It's more so a statement. So for the co-chair here in the Bahamas, I just wanted to encourage those of you who are in the United States who haven't done so as yet, because we're coming down to the end of this medley. For your new members who are enrolling into Pathways, we encourage you to have them enroll in the 6 paths that will be remaining, as opposed to those ones that will not show the new interface. So let's encourage them to look at those 6, be knowledgeable about what the 6 are, and as our host would have shown us how to locate the new Pathways update, the 6 remaining paths are going to be located right then and there. In addition to my initial question, when it came to the hard copy or the physical copy of the project or path that you were downloading, I would also encourage the VPEs, just like distinguished Toastmaster Linda Clark would have said, to look into the future, for the VPEs to be aware of what projects your members would have downloaded. There is a before and after assessment that they can do on that manual. And so therefore, it's good for you to have a copy of their project once they would have completed it as well, so that you can save that document in your educational file. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And congratulations on managing the Bahamian side of this effort. You and Kathy have lots of fun ahead, I'm sure. Allow me to just show you briefly here. I'll get back to you in just a second, Kathy. Briefly here, we were talking about which of the 6 paths. Pathways update here. I'm just on the bottom of the pathways page. And you can see the base camp out. There are actually videos for members and club officers on how to check some of these things. And as you scroll down, here are the 6 paths that will launch in the new learning management system. So if you didn't catch them during this presentation, they are on the Toastmasters website where you can easily grab them. Kathy, yes, what's next?
Yes, before you go to Toastmaster Stevens, a member was asking if they clicked on a level by mistake, is there a way for them to undo it?
If they approve, if the member says they completed a level by mistake, or if a level is approved by mistake. I didn't hear the question.
If the member clicked on a project and said they had completed it by mistake, is there a way for them to correct it?
I think you would have to reach out. I have no experience with that. I think you would have to reach out to TI to get it reset. What I have done in the past is worked with the member to say, I'm not going to approve this now. I'll deny the level completion. And then once you have actually completed all of those, you can resubmit the level completion. Do you
That's
have?
actually what
Okay. Excellent.
because I think it would be problematic to get TI to, but the VPE has to be on top of that to make sure that they know when it's time to approve the level, that there is a project still outstanding.
Yes.
Toastmaster Stevens had his hand up.
Yes, sir. Toastmaster Stevens.
Yes, I have enjoyed this presentation. It was an excellent one. I do have a question, or what I could call a clarification, point of clarification, if you wish. You mentioned about the 11 pathways, and then you cycled a few of them that we will be focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that I should leave out if I had started a particular pathway that is not going to be included? What would you say? Because we're looking at credits.
The choice is yours. If you purchased one of the paths that is not going to be transferred into the new base camp with the new smoother functionality, you have a choice. You can say, I don't want to do that anymore. Or you can go ahead and continue it once the new base camp launches. It will just look no different than it does now. For example, if you happen to be enrolled in 2 paths, one of which is going to be on the new system, one not, then you would notice difference in functionality between the 2 paths. But what the member does if they're enrolled, I'm actually enrolled in a path that's not going to be continued. And I did it after hearing another member say he went and purchased a number of paths that weren't going to be on the new platform just because he didn't want to miss what was in there. And he was comfortable with any, the current pathways, I'm going to call it clunky for the moment, but the current pathways base camp works fine. We're able to function in it. So if it's not going to be any worse than that, finish that path, especially if you're interested in what it offers. Don't stop.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yes.
Any other questions? Toastmaster Harwood had a comment. I saw it fly by, but Steve, did you have a question, or was there just a technical issue?
No, there was just a technical issue. No, great presentation as always, Marijke. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. It's a wonderful audience. I'm a little surprised there aren't more questions, but that's okay. If you're out of questions for right now, the Pathways team
Toastmaster
isn't
Webb.
going anywhere. I'm
I
sorry,
do
what did you
have a
say,
question.
Kathy?
Toastmaster Webb has his hand up.
Yes, I'm so sorry. Toastmaster Webb.
Now, I see the focus has been on Pathways 101 before the changeover or the update. Are there going to be multiple 101s after the update?
I expect we will do that. The Pathways team has not seen what the new base camp looks like yet. We anticipate that once we all have a chance to look at it, people are going to want some training. We just haven't planned it yet because we don't know what it looks like.
So I'm curious as to why the training just before the update.
So why are we doing this training now?
Yes.
Because we have new members and seasoned members who always have questions about Pathways. So we wanted particularly to help those who want to try and get all the new members started. We want that smoothly. If somebody just joined your club last week, do you want to have to tell them, well, wait until the end of October to choose a path because then you'll have the new base camp? No, you don't want to do that. So we're doing the training now so that people can make best use of the base camp we have, even though we know something's going to change or hope it will change in the near future. Does that make sense?
Awesome. Awesome. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I wish I had that Jeopardy music going on. Da 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 da. Well, thank you all for the compliments I see in the chat. Thank you very much. Toastmaster Anson, I know we're a little bit early. Do you want to go ahead and close this out, or should we stay a few more moments in case somebody thinks of a question?
We can have a hard stop in the next 2 minutes, but overall, as I mentioned earlier, this is just, oh, look at that. See, we have Eula.
Yay! Toastmaster Eula, how can we help you?
I have more of a comment. I lived in Asia last year. I'm in the US now for another 2 weeks or so. And I did about 20 speeches. I wrote down the dates, the topic, my evaluator, etc. I never added those into Basecamp. Now that those parts will be gone, I don't think it even makes sense to try and do it. So I'm just letting them go.
Well, hang on a minute. We're not losing any paths. If it's one of the paths that's not going to be one of the 6 for the new learning management system, it's not going to be gone. You can still continue and finish that path if you want to. It will just have the same look and feel of our base camp that we have now. You're not going to lose that opportunity to finish that path if you want to.
But how would I put in dates from, let's say, November, December, January, February last year into 23 into 24?
Well, I believe you would need to go into Basecamp, do the before and after assessments for each of those projects, submit any level completion requests, and probably would need to provide some documentation to your Vice President Education so that they could comfortably approve those to make sure that you got credit for them. And if you have any questions, you're welcome. If you or your VPE have any questions, reach out to the Pathways team. We will be happy to help. And Toastmaster Avante.
Not a problem. Because all the clubs in Asia, they're willing to back me up and approve that I did it. But only thing I kept was the date, the topic, the length of the speech, my evaluator's name. So I have the information that I need. It's just I was worried about the dates because they're months, it's almost a year.
The only date that I'm aware of that Basecamp retains is the date that the level completion is approved. And that's the date that shows up on the certificate. I don't believe Basecamp keeps track of dates of which you finish individual projects. Kathy, can you opine on that?
I think you're right on that, because as you see from that schedule that you showed of your completed levels, and it's only the level completion date. So you can take as long as you want to complete a level. But what I would suggest is that if if you could get some kind of confirmation in by email or something from the overseas VPEs, so that, because your current VPE will need some kind of confirmation. You know, the speech title and the date wouldn't be enough. They would have, the VPE would have to actually have to confirm that in fact the project was done.
They didn't happen to give you copies
No
of the
problem.
evaluation form, did they?
I have one or two, but I can get those. I'm returning to Asia in a week and a half. So
All right.
it's not a problem, an issue for me to get them. My problem was the dates, and because to go back so far, I didn't want to put them in and put it was completed November or December 2023, and it's almost December again.
Not a problem. In fact, I just did a level completion. I'm VPE in my club, and I just did a level completion for one of my members who finished all the projects 2 years ago, but forgot to click on the level completion. So he just got credit now, even though the speech dates were actually 2 years ago. Not a problem.
Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And the presentation was wonderful. I enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. Ivanka, did you have more information for us?
No, I just had a question for the member that was speaking from Asia. So listening, I may have misinterpreted what she said, because if she had given her presentations and done the theory portion of the projects, she would have been able to download the evaluation forms, and whoever the evaluators would have been in Asia, they could have signed off on it then and there. And like you stated, the only thing she would have done was to mark as complete. But based on my understanding, which I said I may have misinterpreted it, it sounded as if she was giving speeches, but she hadn't done the projects as yet. Was I misunderstanding that?
No, I did the project. I got a few evaluations from the VPE at those clubs, but I
Okay.
didn't get from every club. And I
Okay.
have, like I said, more than 20 speeches. I have quite a few.
Okay,
But
yeah.
it's not
So,
an issue because I'm returning and I can request those.
okay, that's
Yes.
fine.
Okay,
And so
thank
the only
you.
thing, you're welcome, darling. So the only thing I would say is, all members, when you're speaking outside of your club, whether you're traveling or you're local, to always at least shoot your VPEs an email, so that they can also communicate with the VPEs of whatever club you're presenting in. And so if you don't have it, at least they would have a record of it. And that's one of the practices we practice over here. Thank you so much, Madam Presenter.
Thank you so much. Good advice.
Yeah, and we never waste a credit, so. Ooh.
Never,
Never give
never.
a free speech. Always
Okay.
do something in Pathways or to advance.
None. None.
Thank you, Marijke, and a wonderful audience. We have reached our time limit of 8:30. As always, this video recording will be sent to, will be placed on our WhatsApp group, and of course, it'll be placed on the district's website. And as always, feel free to send an email to pathways@toastmastersd47.org if you want a copy of Marijke's wonderful presentation and also the Zoom link. If there be no further questions or queries, I will stop the recording.